Karen mocked a Royal Guardsman, tossing a ball and taunting him, convinced her status as a tourist excused her disrespect. But when her antics crossed the line, the Guardsman's response stunned the crowd, turning her arrogance into humiliation. What happened next shocked everyone. Let's dive in. On a radiant afternoon, the square near Buckingham Palace was alive with activity. Tourists milled about, cameras snapping as if they were on safari, eager to capture the iconic crimson-clad Royal Guardsman. There he stood, immovable, a symbol of unwavering discipline and centuries of tradition, his towering bearskin cap a silent statement of honor. His stoic expression told the world, "You can gawk, you can whisper, but you will not disturb me." But not everyone respected the boundaries of dignity. Enter Karen, a middle-aged tourist with a flair for the dramatic and a glaring lack of decorum. Draped in a gaudy floral print dress that could blind a peacock, she clutched an inflatable beach ball, the kind of accessory that screamed, "I'm here for attention, and I demand it now." Her oversized sunglasses reflected not just the sun, but the chaos she was about to unleash. "Hey, Mr. Statue!" Karen's voice rang out, cutting through the hum of the crowd. Heads turned, not in admiration, but in anticipation of disaster. She waved the ball like a scepter, her grin wide with audacious confidence. "Bet I can make you flinch." Flinch? This wasn't a street performer, Karen. This was the King's Guard, trained soldiers, symbols of heritage. But of course, such nuance was lost on her. To her, he was an unpaid actor in her personal vacation drama. The Guardsman didn't move. His gaze remained fixed, unyielding. If the thought, another day, another fool, crossed his mind, his face betrayed nothing. Karen, however, was emboldened by the lack of reaction. She stepped closer, crossing the sacred white line, a boundary meant to preserve respect, but often ignored by those like her, who believe spending money on a plane ticket grants immunity to decorum. "Come on, lighten up!" Karen hollered, her companions shifting uncomfortably. Some tourists snickered, but the majority began whispering disapproval. A mother pulled her child closer, her voice dripping with disdain. "Why do people act like this? He's not a toy." Karen tossed the ball. It arced through the air, bouncing off the Guardsman's chest like a whisper against steel. A gasp rippled through the crowd. Phones were raised. The internet would love this. Karen beamed, her face flushed with triumph. "See? Nothing happened." But something had happened. A line wasn't just crossed, it was obliterated. The Guardsman, still a statue of resolve, emanated silent authority, a fortress against mockery. The tension in the air thickened, and even the boldest in the crowd began to feel the weight of centuries glaring back at them. Karen smirked, oblivious. Yet, as every phone recorded, as every eye judged, the unspoken sentiment was clear. This was not her victory. Karen's laughter grew louder, piercing the square like a siren of misplaced confidence. She bent down to retrieve her inflatable beach ball, an obnoxiously bright orange orb that seemed to reflect her complete disregard for decorum. With a dramatic flair, she bounced it against the Guardsman's polished boots. "Come on, mate, smile or something. You're like a wax figure," she taunted, her voice thick with mockery. Her companions, clearly uncomfortable, tugged at her arm. "Karen, stop. You're going too far." But Karen was in her element. After all, in her mind, being a tourist made her untouchable. She'd paid for her flight, her hotel, her overpriced snacks. Wasn't this guard here for her amusement? The Guardsman's jaw tightened imperceptibly, a subtle flicker of humanity beneath the stoic mask of duty. His hand, resting on the hilt of his ceremonial sword, remained steady. Yet, for the keen observer, there was a slight shift. His lips pressed together, a micro-expression that spoke volumes. It wasn't anger, it was resolve. Karen, oblivious to the tension building around her, tossed the ball high into the air with a theatrical flourish. "I'll give you something to smile about," she declared. The ball brushed the edge of the guardsman's towering, bearskin cap as it descended. This was too much. A sharp, authoritative bark shattered the scene. "Step away from the guard!" The voice belonged to a second guardsman, who stepped forward, his bayonet rifle gleaming under the sun. His presence was as commanding as his voice, which sliced through the murmurs of the crowd like a knife. The onlookers gasped, parting instinctively, their phones recording every moment. Karen froze mid-sneer, her bravado evaporating like morning dew. Her face flushed crimson, either from embarrassment or indignation. "Oh, calm down, it's just a joke," she protested, though her voice had lost its edge. The second guardsman, unflinching, pointed to the painted white line on the pavement. "You have crossed the boundary. Return immediately, or you will be escorted out." His tone was absolute, leaving no room for argument. The crowd murmured, a mix of laughter and low mutters of disapproval. "Serves her right," one man said, his voice carrying the collective judgment of the audience. Karen, now visibly flustered, stomped back across the line, muttering under her breath, "You people need to lighten up. It's just a ball." Her companions exchanged uneasy glances, their discomfort now palpable. The onlookers, however, seemed to revel in Karen's comeuppance. Justice, it seemed, had been served, but Karen's antics weren't done yet. She just couldn't resist one more attempt to claim the spotlight. Karen's walk of shame became an internet sensation within hours. Videos of her antics and the guardsman's composed reaction flooded social media, with captions like "Patience isn't endless," "Karen versus the guard," and "Ballsy tourist gets served." Meanwhile, back at the square, the guardsman resumed his post, as stoic as ever. A small child approached cautiously, holding out his Union Jack flag. "Thank you, sir," the boy whispered. The guardsman allowed himself the faintest smile, a gesture so rare that it felt monumental to the onlookers. The incident became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of respect for tradition and the consequences of crossing the line, figuratively and literally. Tourists became more mindful, the white line more respected. And Karen, she became infamous, her face plastered across countless memes. "Don't be a Karen" became the unspoken rule for anyone visiting Buckingham Palace. As the guardsman stood once more, the sun dipping below the horizon, his quiet dignity spoke volumes. Tradition had triumphed, and respect was restored. As the crowd began to settle, Karen lingered near the line, her ego bruised. She noticed a child standing nearby clutching a small Union Jack flag. The child was mesmerized by the guardsman, his admiration pure and untainted by mockery. Karen rolled her eyes and muttered, "What's so special about standing still?" Seizing the moment to reclaim her lost pride, she tossed the ball one final time, aiming it straight for the guardsman's face. The ball bounced harmlessly off his cheek, but left a mark. Not on the guardsman, but on the atmosphere. A collective gasp surged through the crowd. Even Karen's companions stepped back, horrified. The guardsman's chest rose as he took a deep breath. For the first time, he moved. Slowly, deliberately, he stepped forward, his boots clicking against the pavement. Karen blinked in disbelief, her bravado evaporating. "What are you doing?" she stammered. The guardsman raised his hand, pointing toward the ball now lying at his feet. His voice, calm but firm, broke the silence. "Pick it up, now!" The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, their support washing over the square. Karen hesitated, her face pale. "I'm not doing anything," she snapped, backing away. The second guardsman appeared once again, this time with two officers in tow. "Ma'am, this is your final warning. Disrespecting the Royal Guard is an offense," he said. Karen's bravado crumbled completely as she fumbled to explain. "It was just a joke," she cried. But the guardsman, now back in position, didn't respond. He adjusted his cap and resumed his silent vigil. The officers began escorting Karen off the premises as the crowd broke into laughter and applause.